It's great to be with you today. And the lectionary gives us a reading from Matthew's Gospel in two chunks, chapter 11 verses 16 to 19, and then verses 25 to 30. They are very different to one another in tone and emphasis. Or are they? Our first passage reads as follows: "But to what will I compare this generation? It is like children sitting in the marketplaces and calling to one another, 'We played the flute for you, and you did not dance. We wailed, and you did not mourn.' For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he has a demon. And the Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, 'Look, a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners.' Yet wisdom is vindicated by her deeds." What on earth does this mean? Some people think this flute and marketplace motif was a common saying of the time, picked up and used by Jesus as a teaching point. I think Jesus is comparing the people of his time to children playing in the marketplaces in order to illustrate the paradox of the human response to God's revelation. When John the Baptist came with an austere lifestyle, they dismissed him as possessed. Yet when Jesus arrived, enjoying the pleasures of food and fellowship, they labelled him a glutton and a drunkard. The point of this mini parable is that God's wisdom doesn't dance to the tune of our expectations. Rather, it is we who are invited to dance to the music of God's wisdom. God plays different tunes for us. Sometimes it's a joyful, energetic melody that calls us to celebrate and dance. At other times, it is a solemn, mournful song asking us to reflect and mourn. The point being, are we ready to dance to God's tunes, or are we too busy playing our own tune and expecting God to dance to that? Let's move on to the second part of our scripture, Matthew 11:25 to 30. "Come to me, all you that are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." I think it's beautiful how Jesus calls us. He addresses those who are tired, weary and burdened. He doesn't call those who think they have life all figured out. He calls those who are ready to admit their weariness, their need for rest, and their longing for relief from their burdens. What's the solution Jesus offers? A yoke. It might seem counterintuitive at first glance. After all, a yoke is a tool of labour used to bind oxen together. But the yoke Jesus offers is different. His yoke is easy and his burden is light. He's not promising an absence of work or responsibility, but rather a transformation of it. It's about sharing the load, learning from him, and finding a rhythm in our work and life that brings wholeness. I wonder if perhaps this does relate to the first part of our reading about dancing to God's tune after all. A tune that brings healing and a release from burden. I'll leave you to ponder this. Have a great week.